Hi everyone, thanks for joining me. I'm Carla from the practice team at iMultiply, and today joining me is Louise McCosh. Louise is the HR director at French Duncan, which is a Scottish chartered accountancy firm. Louise has over 10 years experience within HR and is a chartered member of CIPD and is a ACAS mediator as well. At French Duncan, Louise has a hybrid role where she's the HR director who is responsible for over 200 members of staff internally and also runs the HR services team where you offer companies and your clients HR support, outsourcing and help with projects and day-to-day activities. So I'm absolutely delighted to be having this chat with you today. Thanks so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
It's over the past year, it's fair to say, obviously people's working habits have changed drastically due to the COVID crisis and government guidelines. People were really left with no choice but to work from home. French Duncan and other accountancy firms were really fortunate where they were busy throughout this period. You mentioned previously that you guys have been in a period of growth and took on 50 members of staff since then.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. So I thought we could just kick off by speaking about how you adapted and developed your existing onboarding strategy when business turned to remote working.
I guess to start off with, really, as you know, Carla, French Duncan, we're very much a people business. We pride ourselves on our people-centered approach. So onboarding recruits is very much a key part of that and something that we have placed a lot of importance on over the years. So, and as you mentioned, we also support clients as well in doing the same. And very much what we do is we use best of breed. So what works internally in French Duncan, if it works well, then we roll that out to our clients and advise them around it too. So obviously when the pandemic hit, it turned business world upside down, and the HR profession and recruitment as well was really I guess completely different, the world that we're working in now. So we had to, like everyone, quickly adapt to those changes in our business practices and including in how we onboard people, because we knew that we were going through a period of growth and we would need to be able to induct people remotely and recruit them remotely as well, so it was all new to us. So very much we looked at it holistically and how we could, what we would need to do to change our strategy. So the first thing we did was any new starts that we had coming on board, it was about reassuring them, because it was a scary time for everyone, and people were feeling very uncertain. So that was our first thing that we did very quickly, was keep in touch with people as you would do normally. You keep in touch with your new starts, but we felt it was the most important thing to do at that time, and something we continue to place importance on.
I guess there is always going to be having that element of trust, and there's always going to be that self-doubt, and I can only imagine that there was quite a few challenges that you yourself might have faced. They probably throughout, you probably still do. So was it kind of like a trial and error, or what were the challenges that you faced throughout this time?
I think there's really three challenges that I would kind of sum it up. I mean, there's been lots of little niggles and things that you've just had to iron out along the way, but I think looking back over the last year, I guess the three main challenges I think have been around our culture, around managing staff remotely, and particularly new people coming on board, and also really thinking about that onboarding journey. So I guess looking at culture first, I think disseminating who we are as a firm was really, really hard for new joiners. So we pride ourselves on being a great place to work. It's we're the Times top 50 employers in Scotland in 2019 and 2020. And we're also shortlisted for the S1 Jobs HR Team of the Year in 2020. We're still waiting on the results for that as a result of COVID. Managing to get our culture across to new people. And we've had 50 new people join us during the pandemic. So that's a lot of people to disseminate a culture to. When you haven't met them face to face, they've maybe not even stepped inside one of our offices.
It must be so hard because you're trying to paint a picture without even letting them see, or even, you can only talk so much, and without actually having that face-to-face interaction, without actually seeing what the culture is like.
Yeah, I would say that was probably overall has been the hardest thing. But really, our focus has been thinking, well, okay, we can't do anything about the office. That's and hopefully in time people will get to see inside our offices and our new joiners, and that'll be a new experience for them. But in the meantime, you have to do everything you can to do things virtually and not lose that personal touch. And I mentioned obviously management has been really difficult as well. I think for our managers it's a challenge because you're not sitting in front of staff. New people coming on board, you can't see if they're struggling to get to grips with something. We're a training firm, so lots of the new people that have joined us are doing professional studies, whether that's through ICAS or ACCA or various tax exams, etc. So, they don't have that one-on-one time that you normally would in the office. And really, I think that's just about making sure that you're okay. You can't be sitting in front of them all the time, but you can be checking in daily, twice daily. Having a daily stand-up meeting on Teams or on Zoom. It might seem like overkill, but actually you can't underestimate how important that is for new people coming on board and existing staff actually. So that you can ask questions, because you're not able to kind of shout over your desk to someone and ask the question.
5-minute conversation in the kitchen, or when you meet someone both walking into the same place, it's just that small chit chat that you've totally missed. And even people going to and from work, that was sort of their switch off period, where they could maybe sit on their phone or read some articles or listen to music. It's, we're waking up and going straight to work, essentially, because you're in the house.
Some people are not even, they're either working in their kitchen or their living room, if you don't have a dedicated study area as well. And it's just having that awareness, I guess, is the key thing. And that's really, last challenge that I've seen is really just putting yourself in the shoes of the new person coming on board. Starting a new job is daunting at the best of times. You don't know anyone and it's all new. But I think when you're starting and you've had your interview online and you don't know anyone, you've never met them face to face, that must be really, really hard. And I think it's just about adapting that induction process to make it work. And you could, when we're focusing on our induction process and all the things we need to do just for it to tick along, and so we can make sure we've complied with everything, you sometimes might forget to put yourself in the shoes of the new joiner that's coming on board, and how this feels for them.
I think as well, that maybe it's went unnoticed, is that you have this dual responsibility. And obviously, being the HR director and being in charge of the HR services team, you have dual responsibility to, one, keep the existing members of staff at French Duncan engaged, and having the challenge of keeping new starts engaged. So how have you, one, probably found the balance, and two, kept the team at French Duncan motivated and socially engaged and morally engaged, so that they feel good about going to work full time?
Well, the first thing is I've got a great HR team, so that has been a godsend. They are fantastic, every single one of them. So Kira and Anne-Marie and the internal team are brilliant at what they do, and they, to be honest, they keep things ticking along. They keep me in check. And then our external team as well. It's been the external HR team for supporting clients has been hugely challenging, because furlough wasn't a thing until March last year. And we had to get up to speed within a weekend pretty much, and work to support clients that got all sorts of different needs. So but they're all brilliant, and I think that it's your team that makes all the difference. And I think it's about working together really and keeping that communication. So we talk every day. We have first hour of every morning is spent talking, and I can't underestimate how important that is, to keep our priorities in line. We also spent a lot of time thinking about our strategy. Last year, strategy kind of, when we set at the start of 2020, went out the window. But we had to have a fast moving strategy. And for this year, it's about recovery mode and how you kind of adapt to this new world in which we live, and have those priorities. So that's been absolutely key, I think, in terms of keeping people engaged. We've spent a lot of time thinking about how we engage with our staff, and keep that culture alive, which is what we talked about at the start. And really, it's a pretty comprehensive strategy that we have. So we do all sorts of things. So firstly, senior management updates are very regular. We do everything on Teams or Zoom, so people get a regular communication of what's going on in the firm. But the more social side of things, so we do a virtual coffee morning every month, which is great. We've started using breakout rooms as well, which has been revolutionary for us. And so people can catch up with their colleagues over a coffee, and that's working really well. We do boardroom drinks. That was something we'd always done very well in French Duncan. So on the last Friday of every month, we would have a boardroom bar that we'd set up, and all the proceeds would go to charity. Obviously, we can't do that, but we can do a bring your own bottle. So we do that virtually as well. So we've organised all sorts of virtual social events, so bingo, quizzes. We did a virtual cook along, virtual cocktail making, and we're just always building ideas of what could work. And because it's not all about work, and I think that's partly work is a big part of people's lives. You still got to get to know people on a social level.
Looking forward, with other companies, what challenges do you think they will face, with regards to team engagement and taking new starters on board with still working from home? Going forward, what do you think that they're going to face?
I think the single biggest challenge for employers is about embracing the trust that they have given to staff over the last year. People are used to working remotely, and okay, not everyone likes it. Some people absolutely love it and can't imagine going to work 5 days a week and quite like coming to work with their slippers on. But I think the majority of people really, whilst they miss their colleagues face to face and they miss the office, they don't miss the commute that they once had, or they might like the peace and quiet, or just being able to get out of bed and go straight to work. So I think that's going to be a huge challenge, and I think the employers that don't embrace a more of a hybrid working model when they're able to, based on restrictions, that's a misguided approach, and those that do embrace it will succeed, and it will support engagement and retention and attraction of staff. And I think that's the same for new starters. In order to attract talent, your strategy around remote or hybrid working needs to be absolutely crystal clear, and people will choose whether to come to you or someone else because of how you approach that. So I think really that's what I see being the biggest challenge. People have adapted to working from home. Employers are kind of used to it. But if you think after post-pandemic, or when things get back to some semblance of normality, taking all that away is just not realistic. It's not a temporary measure. And actually, I think there's so many positives for both employees and employers that you just got to embrace the new world that we live in.
Thank you so much for sharing, your story and how you've managed to adapt with both teams at French Duncan. I really hope sharing your story inspires people with how to look at their own internal onboard process and to keep their existing staff retained. But yeah, thanks so much for your time today. You've been so successful with how you've done it as well. So yeah, thank you so much.
Thanks, Carla.